This webinar is going to be presented by myself, Matt Alexander. I'm the Director of Communications at Practice Perfect. Been with the company for close to a decade now. And we have Steve Pressman, the founder and CEO of Practice Perfect. He is going to be presenting too. So a couple housekeeping items. The microphones have been muted and your webcam will not be required for the duration of the meeting. The presentation will run for approximately 45 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but we're going to be right around there. And there will be a 15-minute Q&A afterwards. Please type any questions that you have in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them during that Q&A. And the webinar is also being recorded. It's going to be posted to our YouTube channel afterwards. So you'll always be able to find it there. If you have any friends or colleagues who weren't able to make it today, you're more than welcome to share it with them. Now, in terms of the agenda in this webinar, we'll be covering a few different things. We're going to be looking at interactions between you and your patients via Practice Perfect. We're going to look at how we can track patient compliance and how to measure patient success. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and Steve's going to talk a little bit about those things.
Great, thanks, Matt. Let me just get my screens all set up here. Everyone bear with me for a moment. We have a bunch of different screens I'm going to be jumping through, so I apologize if you see kind of some transitions and things like that between these things. So let me just share my screen here. And Matt, you'll get back on the admitting people, hopefully, I would think.
Yep.
So you should all be seeing my screen. Matt, maybe you can just give me a nod. If you can see it, I know everybody else can see it. So excellent, very good. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is the client portal. And I apologize if this is repetitive for some of you that might be using the client portal, but one of the issues we're always dealing with is we don't know what people don't know. So there's a lot of times where we're doing something and our clients don't know that we're doing it. So again, I apologize if some of this is a little bit repetitive, but we do want to take you through again, things that we call the client experience. So, client experience is something new. It used to be when you had an EMR billing program, you were just concerned about the clinic. You were just concerned about sort of your own stuff, and the patients didn't really have any interaction with the program other than getting a bill once in a while. And that's changed now with the advent of the client portal. There's now a direct interaction between the client and Practice Perfect. So the client portal, just a bit of background about it. A self-service real-time experience. So what that means is everything that you're doing on the client portal, everything your patients are doing on the client portal is real-time. It means what they're doing is in direct connection with Practice Perfect. It's not delayed. It's not batched and you get it in the morning. Everything is live. Self-service, what does that mean? They're doing it themselves. Patients are being able to do some things themselves, which we're going to get into. So the client portal was designed to enhance the patient experience, self-service on their own time. What I mean by that, and I use OpenTable as a little example. For those of you that know what OpenTable is, it's a booking system for restaurants. Patients don't want to have to necessarily deal with the 9 to 5 of phoning you or paying their bills or making appointments or uploading documents. Patients more and more, especially the younger they get, want to do things on their own time, on their own speed, maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning. And basically the client portal gives them the ability to do a lot of this. Maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning, they decide they want to book some physical therapy or whatever the case happens to be. Well, this lets them do that. They don't have to wait for you to be open. And quite frankly, you might find more and more patients are going to be looking for a clinic that's able to accommodate that. I don't want to have to wait. The first person I can book with, I'm going to book with. So Portal allows them to do that. If you do want to go down the road of client booking, it allows patients to basically book when they want, without having to contact you and play telephone tag. It makes you more accessible. On top of that, a lot of what we're doing with the client portal, which we're going to get into, actually reduces the burden, the admin burden in the clinic. Have the patients fill out their paperwork online, not have the admin person at the clinic do it. Have the patient book their appointments online, as opposed to phoning up and taking admin time to do it. So by having the patient, by sort of giving the patient the work, you are actually reducing some of the admin burden as well. So there's a lot of benefits in using some of these things on the client portal to benefit both the patient access and hopefully reduce the burden on the clinic. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go through some of the key things that the patient portal does, take you through a bit of a demo of each one of them. Again, to get this set up, it involves going through our support department, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So there's 4 key areas with the patient portal. Number 1 is we have patient registrations, patients being able to register themselves online, fill out all their information online, and have it go directly into Practice Perfect. Instead of the admin people having to enter all the information for the patients are entering the information for the patients. Number 2, and again, all of these are options. All of these can be turned off or on. Some people don't like appointment booking, but they like the registration. Some people like the booking, but not the registration. All of these options can be turned off or on with the portal. Number 2, appointment booking and reviewing. Patients can book their own appointments online if you like. We're going to get into that. Number 3, something newer for us, patients can now see their balances online and actually pay their bills online. We're going to talk about that. And number 4, the most recent thing we're doing is the document exchange. Patients being able to upload documents directly to you and you being able to download documents directly to the patient. So if patients want a copy of their notes or an eval, instead of emailing them, which is not HIPAA compliant, you'll be able to actually, or you can actually exchange it with them directly through the portal. So we're going to get into each one of those. So we're going to start with patient registration. I'm going to just jump screens here. So bear with me. I have to find out which screen we want to be in to do that. I have to figure out where we are here. And there we go. Okay. So for those of you that don't know about our portal, this is basically what the portal looks like. When a patient launches the client portal, it'll come to a screen that looks like this. It's all customizable. We can have your colors, we can have your logo, so it can look like your website. It can look like what they're used to seeing with your website. So every patient will have a username and a password that they're going to pick. But what I'm going to take you through is the patient registration, what it looks like when a new patient decides to fill out all their paperwork online and join you. So never booked with us online before, click here to sign up. It's going to ask them which location they want to attend. This is all definable. You see how these look a little bit different with different information. That's all definable. The first thing it's going to ask them to do is set up a username. We'll call it maybe Betty. And a password. And then it's going to ask them to basically fill out their portal policy. So this is something that's definable by you. They just have to say they agree to all the terms and conditions. You've seen these before, kind of terms and conditions. You can change this. We give you a default version of this if you like, just they're agreeing to their information being transmitted electronically, that sort of thing. So the patient is going to fill in their information. We'll put in Betty Johnson, just to give a bit of an example here. Gender. Some things are mandatory, some things aren't. Anything with a star is mandatory. Anything without a star is not mandatory. We'll just put in some of the basic information here, just to show you what this looks like. Emergency contact information, occupation, how did you hear about us, website, whatever it happens to be, area of concern, hurt my leg, whatever it happens to be, etc., etc. So basic information gets put in right through the portal. And we're going to go to the next screen here. Insurance information, it's an option. Maybe you don't want them entering their insurance information. In this case, it's just one insurance company. Now, why don't we have a drop down of insurance companies? Because they're always changing. The names are different at each clinic. So they would basically just type in the name of their insurance company, name of the policyholder if different, certificate number, whatever the case happens to be. And then finally, terms and conditions. This is all of your terms and conditions. This is completely definable. Again, we give you the a default series of terms and conditions, but you can change these any way you want. And basically, the patient is now registered, and Betty is into the portal. Just to show you what this looks like in Practice Perfect, if I go back to Practice Perfect, we have something here called both unapproved client. You've seen this before. You all have active clients. This shouldn't be news to you, but you have something called unapproved clients. And unapproved clients are these patients that you have entered that we've not yet accepted into the system. So anybody new that's basically submitted their forms, their paperwork, would be here in the unapproved patients, basically. And the reason they're unapproved is you may want to fill some things out before they get included into your proper system. Like maybe they didn't fill out their address, or maybe they didn't put the right insurance company in, or maybe their physician's missing. So basically, this allows you to kind of, to segregate these people until you decide, yeah, they belong in the system, the patient is self-entered, and I'm approving it. So basically, before the patients become part of your active list of clients, they are kept in sort of that little holding bin. And again, don't worry about this being sort of a tutorial. It's more about what we're doing, because all this information is available through a video and through support as well. So that's a little bit about how patients can add themselves into the system. Let's say you have your own intake forms. We're going to get to those in a couple of moments as well. So we're going to leave that alone for the moment here. I'm going to go back to our client portal again here. I just have to find what tab I was on. Again, I apologize. And I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as an existing patient. So the next thing we're going to look at is not the registration of a patient, but what it looks like when a patient wants to actually book an appointment. Now, here's the 4 things I mentioned that we're doing with the portal: booking new appointments, looking at existing appointments, looking at documents, and looking at financial information. So we're going to look at creating a new booking. And again, this can be turned off or on. This can be set up that maybe you only want them booking for assessments and not for ongoing treatment. Maybe only certain services should be allowed to be booked. All that can be defined. So the way this looks, create new booking. Again, which clinic do you want to attend? And it's going to bring up basically 2 things here. It's going to bring up the services you perform. So this will be every service that you perform. And then it's going to bring up all of the providers that you have working within your facility. And the patient can pick this one of 2 ways. They can either say, oh, I want a 30-minute massage. Show me all the providers that do the 30-minute massage, and pick it that way. Or they can come over here and say, I've heard Heather is really, really good. What services does Heather perform? So they can either pick the service or what they want to book based on the service that they want, with a bit of a description. You can put pricing in here if you want, or they can do it based on who the provider is. So we're going to pick Heather, and we're going to book a 30-minute massage with Heather. And Heather, again, Heather's description can go in here, her title. If you want to put Heather's qualifications, and she worked on an Olympic team, all of that kind of stuff can go in here as well. Again, the goal is to give the patient as much information as possible without them having to phone you. So we're going to book a 30-minute massage with Heather. It'll come up, first of all, it comes up with the first date that the service is available. The 31st is the first date. So here's Heather's entire schedule, availability. We can move forward to different dates if we want, obviously. We're going to book Heather at, say, 11 o'clock tomorrow. You've selected Wednesday with Heather at this address. Anything you want us to know? I am really nervous. Okay. All of this information will show up directly in Practice Perfect. If I was to go to the Practice Perfect schedule right now for that date for Heather, we would see that appointment with the note attached to it. Now, again, when appointments are made, you can say they need to be approved, or they can be booked directly. So if you say they want to be approved, then basically what happens is you have to go through this list of these appointments waiting and approve them. But if not, they will go right into your schedule. So this appointment is now right in Heather's schedule. Now, the other thing that that we can do is not only book appointments, but the user can actually, the patient can actually see the appointments they have booked as well. They can see, I'll just go back a step here, that might have been a little bit quick, this thing called appointments. So they can either see all of their upcoming appointments, including the one we just booked with Heather. And this one happens to be pending approval because I have approval turned on. So it's not formal yet. So they can see that, but they can also see a list of all the previous appointments. And why would they want a list of previous appointments? Maybe they need to print this out for, for work or something like that. So both of those things are available as well, both the booking of new appointments as well as the looking up of all the appointments. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the financial section. And again, this is a little bit newer for us. And if we click on the financial section, what you're going to see is basically 3 tabs here. We can look at all of the charges I have on my account, And again, you can make some modifications to this as well. You can say we don't want them seeing the total charge. We just want them seeing their own portion. If there's a copay, they can see the balance. There's a running total. This account happens to be a very, very large account. So we can see all the charges. We can see just what's unpaid, or we can see what payments we've made. If we see what payments we've made, we can download and print a receipt right from here as well. Unpaid charges, again, here's everything the patient owes. If you have the integrated payment processing option turned on with us through Global Payments, the patient can actually pay their bill online here as well. Patient owes $103. Right from here, I can say I want to pay the bill. I only want to pay $25 or $50 or whatever it happens to be. You put in your credit card information, you hit submit, the payment gets processed, they get an approval on the screen, and it instantly is reflected in Practice Perfect. So you don't have to then come back into Practice Perfect and enter that payment. It's entered for you, and you do get a report, you do get a notice in Practice Perfect that the payment was made. So you're aware that the payment kind of came in overnight. I would take you through the actual entry of payment, but unfortunately what it does is shows the credit card number they're entering on the screen, and I don't really want to share my credit card number with everybody. So again, payments can be entered and they are stored directly in the system. And this is updated right away. The moment you pay something, this is updated. It will show the new balance. The unpaid charges will change as well. So that's something that's new. And again, when they pay the bill, they will get a receipt. There's an option when they pay the bill for them to get a printed receipt. They can also get the printed receipt right from here. We're doing more work with the receipts to make them a bit more inclusive of some of the services we're offering. So that's something that's pretty new as well. And the last area that we want to take a look at, let me just check my notes here, make sure there's nothing else I want to check with the financial review. One thing I do want to mention is when they do pay the bill, I'm glad I checked my notes, is when they enter their credit card information, that credit card information is not retained by us. There's no PCI compliance issues. It's a one-time use. They enter the payment is recorded. We do not keep that credit card on file. We are not supposed to be keeping the credit card information on file. It breaches something called PCI compliance. We're not supposed to go anywhere near that. So if that question comes up, we are not retaining that credit card information. There is a way of the clinic retaining the credit card information securely. If they're paying in a clinic, that's kind of a different topic altogether. The last thing we want to look at with the patient portal, which again is something a bit newer for us, is this thing called documents. Documents is a way of you sharing documents, sharing information with the patient. Documents can be things that you've uploaded to the patient. For example, you sent them a form you want them to fill out. You sent them a copy of a daily note. You sent them an eval. Or you want to give the patient the ability to upload documents directly to you securely. So again, instead of relying on email, which is completely non-HIPAA compliant, we use this as a mechanism to communicate between the client and the patient, part of the patient experience. So I am going to just jump to back to our system here, and I'll show you a bit about that. We're going to take a patient. I think we're going to use a BATE, okay? So again, hopefully this is not sort of a new area for a lot of you guys, the actual use of documents in the system. But let's take a look, for example, at the activities by document or the notes for the patient. There's a new column. You have to have a newer update. There's a new column here called portal on both of these things. If I want to send any of these documents up to the client portal, if I want the client having access to any of these things, all we have to do is click on that little portal tick box, and all of a sudden that document, that JKKL thing, will be available on the client portal. If I want to remove it from the client portal, we just untick it. It's going to just confirm that this is what I want to do. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to take this speech language eval, but it's going to tell me, oh, I can't take something that's not completed and signed and put it on the portal. So I'm going to complete and sign this particular document. And we're going to put this up onto the client portal, export, and it's going to put it on the client portal. If I go back to the client portal, I'll just refresh the screen here. That speech language eval that I just did is now up there. I'm not sure which one it was. It was one of these. And all the user has to do is click on that document, and it will download into a PDF the actual, the actual document that they did. Conversely, if you ask the patient to upload something to you, right from here, the patient can upload a document to you. This is his new report from his spine with a note. They select a file to upload. I'm just going to upload, I don't know, see if I can find something here, just a PDF or an image file. We'll just grab an image file, I suppose is fine. Select file to upload. And sorry, I'm just missing a button off the bottom here. So upload. And again, if I go back into Practice Perfect, what you're going to see, if I just refresh that screen here, hold on a second here, is you're going to see the document that I uploaded, new report from spine, and there it is with the comment from the patient. So again, nice way of being able to exchange documents back and forth with the with the patient. And again, don't worry if you caught all this or not. I just want you to be aware of the kind of things that we're doing that you can employ. Okay. I want to get into, let me go back to my slides for the moment here. Again, I apologize for jumping around. Where's my slideshow? Just bear with me for a moment here. Okay, slideshow. Sorry about that. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about is something called customized documents and pending documents. So let's say you decide, okay, I know you have this nice patient registration where they're putting in their bare bones information, but I have a whole bunch of forms I want the patients to fill out. There's consent forms and intake forms, and maybe maybe there's other information I need from them. And what we have built in online is a good little, thing for the basic demographics, but not all the information we need. So what can you do about customized documents? We do have the option for you or for us to customize any kind of intake or any other form you want and have it basically be sent directly to Practice Perfect through something new called pending documents. So I'm going to give you an example of that. Let me just close this screen for a moment here. This is an example of a customized document. This is a specific document that's been designed by a clinic. Then they want to use this document. They want to send this link out to their patients or have it on their website, have the patients fill it out. So the way this works basically is we have these nice little customized documents. You put in whatever you want here. Again, completely definable. I'll talk about who sets these up in a couple of moments here. And in the very, very bottom here, I have just a Zoom screen I'm getting out of the way here. We want the patient to sign it and they want to submit it. So form gets submitted. Where does it go? Within Practice Perfect, we now have something new called pending documents. And pending documents is where all of those forms you're waiting for basically have been delivered to you. So for example, I did one a little bit earlier today. Now we're adding some columns in here. We're adding things like the name of the document. We're adding responsibility. We're adding sort of a drop-down category as well. But these are all the documents that right now we're waiting for. These are just sitting there. These are forms that people have filled out. Now, why don't we have the names on here of the patients? Well, we don't know the names of the patients because they're just forms. We don't have any idea, especially if they're new patients, where they came from. So I'm going to take a look. So here's a form that I filled out. And it has come to me. There it is. This is what it looks like. That's the form. And then once you know what's on the form, you can then say, okay, that was Mary's form. I want to attach this to Mary's account or Jackie. And here's a description. Here's a comment. And okay, and it takes it out of here and puts it into Mary's account. So again, this is yet another way of having the patient fill out their forms online, have them come directly into Practice Perfect as well. And again, don't worry so much about what did he do? What's all this stuff? We'll talk about, we'll certainly train you how to do that. I just want you to be aware that this kind of thing is available. Pros and cons to custom forms. The pros, you can do anything we want. We can make the forms look any way you want within some reason, but they're very customizable. And you do come right into Practice Perfect. The cons with the customized forms is they do not yet create the patient. So let's say a brand new patient, sends in a form. It's a customized form because the field names can be anything you want. We don't know where the first name is. We don't know where the last name is. We don't know where the address is. So we're not yet able to create a patient from these brand new forms. We can just bring them into the system. You're still creating the patient. We're trying to find ways of making that a bit better. There's a couple things we can certainly do. So that is something that that we're looking at doing as well. So again, another way of hopefully automating, hopefully taking some of the burden off the admin and letting the patients fill out all their information and having that form automatically go right into your system. I want to talk a little bit about what we kind of have in the works with the client portal before we kind of hand things back to Matt. So again, I'm just going back to my slideshow here. So a couple of things in the works. Because we have a number of people using this already. And some of the feedback we've gotten is, well, how do I know that someone's uploaded a document? Or how do I know that someone's booked an appointment with me? Or how do I know that someone's added a new patient? Well, a reminder does show up in Practice Perfect. So we do get reminders that will pop up on Practice Perfect. But let's say that you're not in the clinic or you're not looking at your screen. So we're looking at using texting as well, because we're leveraging texting for a lot of things right now. So what we're in the middle of doing is if a document is uploaded, you'll have the option of the provider, of the clinician getting a text that says, hey, John Doe just uploaded a text document. Conversely, you'll have the option of if you do download something to the patient, having the patient texted and says, hey, patient, there's a document waiting for you in the portal. So that's in the works as well. When a patient books an appointment online with the provider, we're going to do the same thing, having the provider texted about that appointment. Right now, again, there's a reminder that pops up, but if they're not logged in, they won't see it. So we're looking at doing that. We're also looking at adding some options for the patient to be able to make their own profile changes in the portal themselves. Again, I'm kind of on the fence with this. Do we want them changing all their own information or not? Again, it'll be something that's kind of definable, whether you want it or not. But again, it's something that people have been asking for. So there's a couple things that are in the works. Okay, let's talk about costs. Everyone says, oh, this is great. What's going to cost me? Well, there's no charge for the client portal. It's something we've included in your current monthly subscription fee. So if you want to use any of those features that we talked about, the actual portal itself, we are not charging for the client portal. There are two things where charges may be incurred, just to be fully above board. If you do decide to use our credit card processing, the online credit card processing, there is that percentage you're going to pay a credit card processor, which we have to kind of a clinic by clinic basis, but that's that 2.5%, 3% what the card companies are usually charging. So you're only going to pay that if you use the credit card processing. And there is a setup fee for the customization of those documents. So if you do have a customized document, we are charging a one-time fee to customize them with you. Again, depends on the nature of the form. Typically, it's about $30 a page on a one-time fee. But again, if the page is just text and not a lot of fields, we don't charge for that. So again, any information about the client portal, getting set up with the client portal, best thing is to email support@practiceperfectemr.com and they can take you through it. There's quite a bit of setup involved, especially if you get into scheduling, because we have to define what you can schedule, who's doing what, who's allowed to schedule online, when are they allowed to schedule online. A lot of setup is involved with it, but something that you can give us as well. The next thing we want to, actually, no, I'm going to forgot about that. We're going to hand this back to Matt, who's going to take you through something else involving the client experience, our new texting service that we're offering. And then we're going to come back after Matt's session and talk about patient compliance and tracking clinic success. How are you doing with your patients? So Matt, I'm going to hand this back to you. And I guess we'll deal with questions again during the Q&A. I know there's probably tons of questions coming in about the portal. Try to hold on to them. We don't want to stop the flow here, and we'll deal with them after the fact. But Matt, I'm going to hand this back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Steve. So I'm going to get my screen share going. All right. And we will be talking about using technology to communicate with patients throughout the patient life cycle. So first and foremost, why does it matter? Well, there was a recent study done by the British Columbia College of PTs, and they found that good clinical communication is associated with positive clinical outcomes, higher levels of client satisfaction, higher levels of client compliance with treatment plans, which is something Steve's going to be chatting about as well, and lower levels of client frustration and anger, not something we like dealing with. Now, it all begins before their first visit. Now, what does that initial contact look like? When are you making your first contact with your patients? Is it when you receive the referral from their doctor, when they call you to set up an appointment, or is it when they physically walk through your door? Now, in many cases, you may not even be aware of that first contact, whether it's someone who heard about you from a friend or family member, or they found out your website on Google. If they did hear about you from a friend, what's the story that they told? What are they telling them about the care that they received at your clinic? Conversely, if they found you online, what are the reviews saying? Now, there's a lot to be said for social proof and the role that it plays in someone's decision-making process. But once they ultimately decide to book an appointment, are they arriving at the clinic at their appointment time? And then you hand them a stack of forms to fill out. What does that onboarding process look like? And what can you be doing to improve that initial contact? Now, all of these instances can be referred to as touch points. A touch point is any time an existing or potential client comes into contact with your clinic, either before, during, or after they've received treatment from you. This contact can be initiated by the clinic, and in some cases, it can be even be automated. But despite automating some of our communication, I want to be very clear that it is in no way a replacement for face-to-face contact. There's nothing that really compares to the in-person experience, but they are here to supplement those interactions. So, what are some of these common touch points? They may include once the referral is received, when the initial evaluation is scheduled, following that initial evaluation, upon certain treatment milestones, and when they've either become inactive or discharged. We spoke about automation, and we can set up some automation based on these touch points. A lot of them can be set up through Wired Client. So many of you have heard of this before. It's our automated texting and voice calling service. And it features a number of different triggers based upon them. So some of the triggers include the opted-in date. That's the day that the patient is uploaded to the Wired Client from Practice Perfect. That might be, for example, when you receive that referral. There's prior to the first visit. So if someone has actually scheduled that initial evaluation, you can send them a message beforehand. There's a number of visits. This is one of those treatment milestones that we're talking about. Whether it's 5, 10, 20, 100 visits, you might want to send them a message based upon that. And in terms of the compliance, we have the last no-show date and the number of days without rebook. These are two other ways that we can trigger the message. And last but not least, we have the end date. So that would actually be the discharge date in Practice Perfect. So once they're discharged from all of their active incidents, we can send a message either on that day, the day after, a month after. We could follow up based upon it. So I want to show you what this process would look like in Practice Perfect in the Wired client. A lot of this setup has been done already. And all we have to do here, I'm just going to create a new patient. First name new, last name patient. We're going to give them a movie phone number, just like that. And I'll add them to my schedule. And I'll click this button here. In doing that, this patient has been assigned an entire Lifecycle campaign containing 8 different messages. I don't have to do anything else. I'm just making my changes in the schedule in Practice Perfect. My admin is working in the scheduler the same way they normally would, but based upon the subsequent appointments, these appointment statuses we enter here, they're triggering a whole host of messages. So now I'm going to go to the Wired client itself, and we'll kind of walk you through how that works. So I'm going to sign in here. And working backwards, I want to find my new patient. Here's my new patient right here. We could tell by the movie phone number. And we can see that they have the Lifecycle campaign assigned to them. What's included in this campaign? Let's work backwards. So we go to our campaign list, and we have a whole set of messages here. It's very common for a clinic to start using Wired Client, and the one that they're mostly focused on is the appointment reminder. Understandably, because those missed appointments, they can be pretty pricey over time. So definitely something you want to look at using. But all of those other triggers, all of those other touch points that we mentioned, we have messages based on them. So when the referral was received, when the new eval was booked, after the first visit, the fifth visit, the fall off, the discharge, the no-show. These are all instances where we're going to get in contact with them automatically, either through text or phone call. How do we know to do that? That's all done by the events. And this is really the brains behind the system. This is taking those appointments that you've entered in Practice Perfect, is taking those appointment statuses that you've entered in Practice Perfect and sending messages based upon that. So again, once the referral is received, I have a trigger type here called opted in date. This message is going out at the end of the day after they've been uploaded to the Wired client. And I can do text or voice, something brand new to Wired client. So depending on the populations that you're working with and whether they prefer to receive a text message or a voice call, we can now accommodate both. If someone doesn't show up for an appointment, there's a trigger called last no-show date. We'll send them a message at the end of the day. When the new eval is booked, we're using prior to the first visit. What does that message include? Maybe a link to the portal, maybe a link to one of those intake forms Steve was just showing us. They can actually get that prior to setting foot in your clinic and complete it. So it makes that first visit experience that much smoother. A follow-up after the first visit, just to make sure everything's going well. We're off to a good start. A fifth visit, a fall-off. This is based upon the last visit date without rebook. If it's an active client, if it's been 14 days since their last visit, they have no future appointment booked, they're going to get this message. And then we have the discharge and our basic reminder. But in terms of the message itself, that's completely customized by you. The appointment reminder is really straightforward. We use these tokens. They're pulling information from the client profile. We're making sure that it's tailored to them. With the new eval booked, here we're actually including a URL. So I'm able to store URLs within my system. I can have those plugged into the message automatically. Depending on where I'm going to be seeing the client, they'll get the URL for the corresponding branch. In this case, we're asking them to show up a little early so they have time to fill out the intake forms. The fifth visit, this is a great use case for our survey. So a little bit earlier, we spoke about people finding you on Google, people seeing reviews. How do we get reviews? This is a fantastic way to do so. So after someone's been to our clinic 5 times, we're automatically going to send them a really simple Net Promoter Score survey. Please let us know how likely you are to refer us to friends or family on a scale of 0 to 10. We can set up auto replies based on these as well. So in our example here, someone replies with a 10, I'm automatically asking them to leave a Google review for us. Someone replies with a 6, I still want their feedback. I just don't want it going online. So we have a different auto reply for them, one where we don't include a link to our review page. Still worthwhile to follow up with the patient, see what's going on, see why you received that score. There may be some valuable tidbits there, but again, it's not something we want going online. And it's something that we're able to keep tabs on in the Wired client itself. So we have a survey section here, and we're able to see all the folks who responded with a 10 and so on. We can see how many surveys we've sent, how many replies we've received. We can see the average score. We can see who's responded for each score. So if I want to see who it was that sent me that 6, I can go here and check. But these are just a few ways that you're able to keep in touch with clients throughout the patient's life cycle. We can incorporate the client portal with this, whether we want to send it through text or email. We can also include links to the intake forms. So a lot of great ways to automate these messages. And I'm going to pass it back to Steve.
Oh, unmute myself. Sorry about that.
There we are.
Get my camera back on here as well. Thanks very much for that.
My pleasure.
Wire client, I think we have probably about 20 or 30% of our clinics are using Wire client. It's been growing quite nicely, and we're getting some great feedback with it as well. So something I encourage you to take a look at. One thing that Matt didn't mention is anybody who wants to try out Wire client, we're doing a 60-day trial without any charges at all. So if someone wants to give it a shot, we'll have the contact information at the end, and you can try it out. If you like it, great. If it's working for you, great. If not, you walk away. There's literally no obligation. So what I want to do is I want to get back to a bit more of the let me just bear with me for a moment here. A bit more of the hardcore practice perfect stuff. I want to talk about patient compliance, and hopefully again everybody can see my practice perfect screen. I'm actually going to just reshare it. Bear with me for a moment here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so everyone should hopefully be seeing my my practice perfect screen. So what is compliance? What is patient compliance? Let me go back to my slides too. Just sorry, I am jumping around all over the place here. And we're going to go to patient compliance. Patient compliance is patients adhering to your suggested treatment plan. You suggested a course of action, a plan of action. Are they adhering to it or not? They're not missing their visits. They're not vanishing. And more important, when a patient does vanish, my concern's always been, what are they saying about you? Let's say the patient goes, comes to your clinic and they come for a couple visits, and then, they stop coming because maybe they feel better, maybe they feel worse. What are they telling people? These guys were great. These guys didn't care about me. So I'm really kind of big on this this whole patient compliance thing. I'm also to be blunt, I'm also kind of the money guy in all of the dealings with the clinics, and sort of looking at productivity and profitability and that kind of thing. And patient visits represent dollars. So if patients do need to be treated and you've recommended their treatment, then it's nice to have their offer the treatment and certainly collect the reimbursement that you're due. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. First, we're going to talk about discharging. Discharging is something you can do within Practice Perfect, and a lot of you do discharging, and believe it or not, a lot of you do not do discharging. And what is discharging? Basically, discharging is basically saying that the patient is done. This patient is not coming back anymore. Maybe the patient's not coming back because they have finished their treatment. Maybe the patient is not coming back because their funding has run out. Maybe the patient's not coming back because they don't like us, or maybe they've vanished and we've given them a couple of weeks and we're saying they're done. But discharging is the act of basically saying the patient is no longer coming in for treatment. If you are properly discharging, it allows us to track a whole bunch of things: length of treatment, cost of treatment, success of treatment. We're going to talk about all these, patient compliance, and any potential issues. How do we know how patients did if we don't know they're done? Kind of a key thing. How do you discharge in Practice Perfect? I do hope you all know how to do this. We have Louise. We want to discharge Louise. Right from here, I can say that we want to just flag her. We want to discharge her. Practice Perfect is going to want to know the date you're discharging her, who's discharging her, and why are you discharging her? Did she complete treatment? The physician said no more? Did her funding run out? These categories are definable. If you don't like our categories, you can set them up yourself. So again, we can say that Michelle completed treatment. So it's very important to discharge your patients. Again, where is it? You flag the patient. It's right there. Little discharge icon right there. I will log into clinics and I will see 10,000, 12,000 active clients. There is no way any of you guys have 12,000 active patients. So I know the clinics, a lot of clinics are very kind of not up to date with discharging, but it's a very, very, very key thing to do. And again, in Practice Perfect, we have your active clients, we have your discharge clients. That's so you can see if they've been discharged and get back into them if need be. So we're going to talk a little bit about compliance, then we're going to talk about stats, and we're going to talk about managing patient follow-up. Now, something new that we've added, and I'm going to take, I think, where's my patient here? I had a patient I wanted to use. Where are they here? Well, we can take Abe, Penny, that's fine. There is something new in the newer update in your treatment plan tab called frequency. I want this patient to come in 30 times. I want them to come in 3 visits in a 7-day period. So I want them to come in for 30 visits, 3 visits allowed, 7 in a week, 7 days. Or I want them to come in, 10 days in a month, or whatever the case happens to be. So these are relatively new. Frequency under the treatment plan tab in the instance. Number of visits, total allowed, how many days. How do we find out if people are not adhering to what you have recommended, to what you've recommended as a course of treatment? Let's go back to my active patients here. And oh, there's my guy, Sam Ambrose. Sorry, that's the one I was going to play with. So again, Sam, we've recommended again 3 days a week and 3 days per week. There's a new report in your system if you have a most recent update. And again, updates are free, everybody, called the compliance report. The compliance report, and I can say just run this for deficient clients. What it's going to show you is all of those patients who are not living up to their treatment plan. So Sam's a good example. We recommended 30 visits. He's got 22 left. We recommended 3 visits in every 7 days. Right now, he's using less than an average of 2 visits in every 7 days. Sam is not adhering to his treatment plan. So instead of you guessing or not having the time to go in and figure out, are people living up to their treatment plan or not? And yes, I know it's more entry. I know you got to put this in, but the only way we're going to be able to get this information out is if you put it in. So if you are recommending a course of treatment for people and you want to track who's deficient in that treatment and perhaps get them back in the door, get them in the door more frequently, again, where is this report? It is under reports, operations, compliance report. And again, you can see everybody or only the clients who are under or by provider if you want as well. So something new. You may not have it in your system yet if you need an update, but this is something that's pretty key. Next thing I want to talk about is something called the treatment statistics report, which has been in here since the dawn of time. And a lot of you may or may not be using it. I know we're running a little behind where we want to be. I probably need about 5 more minutes and we can get into Q&A. Treatment statistics report, very, very key report. This report shows you all sorts of information about the flow within the practice. It shows you all the patients who've been discharged. Why discharged? Well, because we don't know their cost and length of treatment until they've been discharged because they're still being treated. So we'll take Penny as an example here. Penny came in for her low back pain. Between her injury date, if you're tracking injury date, and her contact date, it was 75 days. That's crazy. Between contact and assessment was 2 days. That's great. You're getting people into the clinic really, really quickly. She was discharged. She had 46 visits. Treatment total of $6,000 for 33 weeks. Nice thing about this report is it totals all this. And this report's going to be a bit of nonsense here because these dates may not be completely accurate. There's lots of kind of outlying information here, but we can see that the average time from contact to assessment is 38 days. Well, that's not great, and then from injury to contact was 38, and then from contact to assessment was 20 days. That sort of thing. We can also see on this report, the treatment statistics report, is we can see of all the patients we discharged, 368 patients, a full 51%, we have no idea what happened to them. 10% completed treatment. Well, that's not good, okay? It's probably not accurate because we're not entering our discharges properly, but this shows you how many patients, like one patient left because their funding ran out, that kind of thing. Referred to their physician, one patient. We also do a breakdown on here of the number of visits that patients are coming in for. A full 50% of our patients didn't even bother coming in the door, not once. 7% of our patients had 11 visits or more. Not bad. So again, this really shows you where you have an issue. Are most of our patients falling off at 4 visits, 5 visits? This is all in the system. You should be leveraging it. The last thing this report shows you is an average cost and length of treatment per injury type, either whether it's ICD-9, ICD-10. So lumbar spinal stenosis, we saw 17 patients. The average patient was here for eight treatments at a cost of $1,400. So all this information is already in Practice Perfect. We encourage you to use it. It's called the Treatment Statistics Report. And again, it can be run by providers. So if you have a new provider and you want to see, are 50% of their patients making it through treatment? Are 80% of their patients making it through treatment? You can get all of that information. The last thing I want to show you on this end of it, then we'll get into one other thing into the Q&A, is a patient fall-off report. And I hope everyone's running this report. This has been, again, in the system since the beginning. Patient fall-off report. Can you please show me all of my patients who I haven't seen for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever you want, by provider, by patient type? And what this is going to show you is all of those patients who have fallen off the record. David Walker was coming in for tennis elbow. He hasn't been here since the 24th of January. He was here 2 days. He said $280. So this will show you all of those patients who have stopped showing up. You got to do something with this information, but the longer you wait, the longer it's going to be. One of the key things I really like about Wired Client that Matt was going into is all of the patients who haven't shown up for 2 weeks, 3 weeks can automatically get a text message that says, hey, we haven't seen you for 3 weeks. Click here to book. Click here to phone us. Without you having to remember to do it. Because let's face it, no one's got the time to do all this stuff. Let it do it for you. Let it automate the experience to the patients for you. So patients can get a text message if they haven't been in for a number of weeks automatically without you having to remember to do it. Patients can also get a text message if they cancel and don't rebook. Patient cancels on Monday, a whole week goes by, they haven't rebooked. Without you looking at anything, the patient can get a text message to say, rebook. And again, what's that one visit worth? One visit, one patient, So we're very big on that. We're very big on trying to get patients in the door, generate revenue, that sort of thing. The last thing I want to show you, that's basically it for the whole patient compliance and tracking success, tracking how fast patients are getting into the clinic and how fast you're seeing them. But one other thing I do want to show you on our website. So I'm just going to jump to our website here. All the time people are saying like, okay, I have a suggestion for you. There's something I'd like you to do. You're not doing it. Someone else is doing it. We do have, rather than contacting support, in our contact section on our website's www.practiceperfectdmr.com. Under contact us, we do have something called a suggestion box. That actually comes right to me, okay? And we respond to all of them. So if you do have some ideas for some feature, like I love your client portal, but it would really be nice if you could do this, or I saw another clinic with a different EMR and they do this, send us a suggestion. We're only as good as sort of as what you want us to be, basically. So don't be shy about sending us a suggestion. We ask for the suggestion. We ask for the reason as well, to justify it as well. So again, that's under contact us. And in the, let me just review that again here. It's in contact us. Where are we? Contact us. And then click here to send us a suggestion. I'm going to hand it back to Matt to I guess to MC the whole Q&A. I know we're running 5 minutes until the end. I mean, we're here. We're going to get through the questions, so we welcome everyone to stick around. We're not going to cut anybody off at 4 o'clock. But I'm going to hand it back to Matt to run the Q&A, and let's see what we can do. So Matt, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Steve. So we did get a couple questions during this call. So thank you all for submitting those questions. Just bear with me for one moment. I'm going to get them pulled up here.
And Matt and I'll just kind of share the answers here. I'll stay off mute as well.
Yeah. So couple questions to start. Is there a change coming to allow clients to see available appointments before registering, or only need to register to book an appointment? So I believe that's in reference to the client portal.
That portal. So right now, No, right now they have to register with their bare bones information to see the available appointments. It's something we could do. It's if we do have a number of people that think that's a great option, we're happy to do it. We thought it'd be great to kind of capture their information first so you can follow up with them. Let them put in their information, then see availability. So at least the clinic, clinic can follow up with them and say, hey, are you interested in our services? If this is something that you think would be beneficial to check availability before registering, dump it in that suggestion box. It's something that we will take a look at. And again, to be completely candid, changes are made based on the number of people who request them. One clinic requests it, may not get done. 10 clinics request it, more than likely it will get done, that sort of thing.
So with these changes to the client portal, can you pick a location if you have multiple locations under
Yes.
one link instead of a separate link for each location?
You can, if your practice perfect is set up with multiple locations, meaning you have one database with, let's say, 3 or 4 of your locations, then yes, we can just use one link. If you have separate databases, which means you have 5 locations and 5 completely different computers and 5 totally separate databases, then no, they need their own link.
Is there a way to do one-off messages for wired client? And yes, there is. So 3 ways we can go about that. One, there's the ability to send a text directly through Practice Perfect. So if I have a patient who's been uploaded to the wired client, if I click a little gray chat bubble on the function bar, I'm able to send the text from within Practice Perfect. The other option is if I'm logged into the wired client in the messages screen, if you recall, there was a list of all my patients. I'm able to click chat and go back and forth from there. The last way is what we call a broadcast, and this one's really handy in the case of any inclement weather, if a therapist is out sick, but you're able to send a message, a one-off message to all of your clients based on their next upcoming appointment. So whether it's today, tomorrow, this week, if you need to reach patients who have a pending appointment within a certain date range, you're able to do so very easily. Best way to know if you've updated, I would go into Practice Perfect and click Help and About. You can see what version you're on there. If you go to practiceperfectemr.com/releases, you can see all the release notes and learn more about our latest versions and what's included.
We are on version 632, by the way. So if you're going to your Practice Perfect and it says you're on version 597 or 520 or 630, 632 is the latest and greatest.
A little confused about the forms and the registration in the portal. Does the registration data populate in Practice Perfect? And do the customized forms populate in Practice Perfect, or does that require some manual entry?
Right. So it's something that question may have been asked before we got into it because we did cover that. So basically, if you're using the portal where they're entering all their information, that does automatically create the patient in Practice Perfect. If they're using the customized forms, it does not yet, we're using the word yet, create the patient or fill that information out because the forms could have any kind of fields you want. We have to find a way of matching up field names with what's in Practice Perfect. So customized forms, not yet. We're working on it. If you use the online registration, then yes, it does create the patient.
Awesome. Not a question, but someone said that they love the wired client for communication, so very happy to hear that. Another person asked, can the patient respond in wired client? And yes, we do support two-way texting. So in a lot of cases, the front desk, they're able to replace some of the phone calls that they're making with these text messages. They might keep it open in a tab of their browser, maybe next to their email, and they'll hop in and out of there as needed and go back and forth with the patients or with the families.
Not only that, but you can indicate who should get a copy of these messages. So let's say a patient does text back at night and says, let's say it's their first visit, they get a message that says, hey, it was your first visit, how you feeling? And the patient replies, look, I'm feeling really, really crappy tonight. The therapist, in theory, can get that message at night without giving out their own cell number and reply accordingly. So the therapist can be notified for any messages that do come back. You don't have to have wire client open necessarily.
And in addition to that, we can filter the list so that unless someone has been assigned to that patient, they won't actually
Right,
appear as someone that they can communicate with.
right.
So we have a few rules there as well. But it looks like that's all we have for questions, Steve.
Okay, there's some more and more chats. Click. There's a few, let's see, our patient store credit cards. Actually, I'm seeing more on the chat. I'm not sure. Um, can we capture how many appointments are left by treatment plan by client? There's a whole bunch of questions on here in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure where they came from. Blank forms, patient fill out, what best way? How do you access the client portal? Okay, how do you access the client portal? Call support. Anybody who wants to enable the client portal, just give support a call or email them, and they'll get you set up. There are some videos on how to set things up, and they can take you through it as well. So all available through support. Um, did you say we would send you the forms and you would customize? Yes. If you're using customized forms, then yes. Again, contact support or Michelle support's probably the best funnel to go through, I would think, and they'll send you in the right direction. So if you do want to set up customized forms, contact support. They will send you in the right direction. Can we capture how many appointments are left on a treatment plan by client? Yes. The report, and this may have come in before I got to that part in the demo. In the compliance report, that new compliance report, it does show you how many visits are left. You can just say you can say show everybody. It doesn't have to be just the people who are deficient, but it will show you how many appointments are left. With the client portal, is there a way to see what client sees without logging in as the client? Yeah, so okay, here's a good example. You're setting up a client portal. What does it look like? Yeah, I would just set yourself up as a dummy patient, quite frankly, in Practice Perfect, so you can see what the experience is. Just kind of create your own patient and your own name and see what it looks like. We charge a credit card processing fee when patients pay by credit card. If a patient pays via the portal, is there a way you can add a processing fee? Interesting question. We're getting more and more of that these days. I'm seeing this in restaurants. I'm seeing this in some other places where they're now actually charging you a credit card processing fee. So something that we have to look at doing right now. No, right now it does not give you the option of adding on a processing fee, but something we have to look at. We are seeing more and more of that. That was a really, really good question. Not that the other ones weren't, but that one got me thinking. Will we be able to get a copy of the webinar sent to our email or find it on the website? Yes, Matt had mentioned at the outset that this will be posted. Matt, are you going to sort of do a blanket email to everybody with the link, or how is that going to work?
I will. So it's going to be posted on YouTube. It'll also go on the Practice Perfect website, but we'll send everyone who registered for the webinar a link to the video afterwards. So you'll be able to share that with any colleagues.
Very good. Would you be able to have a publicly available outcome measures as documents that can be shared with patients using the portal? So I'm not sure the question. So if there are publicly available outcome measures, yes, there's no reason why we can't use those as forms that can be sent out. Anything that's public, anything that's a sort of a form that's common and everybody's using, we won't charge for customization. So if you have a form that you want to use, it's a custom outcomes form, a DASH or a Westry, something you want the patient to fill out, contact us about doing a custom form. Won't be a charge for setting that one up. Our patients store their credit cards on file with us, which we store in PP. When paying via the portal, can there be a checkbox that says use card previously stored? Good idea. Instead of the patient having to enter their card, can they use the card they have on file? Not yet. Interesting idea, something we can consider. Again, suggestion box would be a great idea for that. Couple more here. The client may be discharged for whatever reason as their treatment is complete, but we're still awaiting payment from the insurance company. Okay, you can discharge. You can discharge patients that owe you money. That's okay. They're still going to show up on all of your receivables reports. You can still enter payments for them. A discharge has nothing to do with the financial. It has to do with the treatment. Discharge patients when they're done with you. You can still enter treatments. You can still enter payments. You can still look them up. They will still show up on receivables reports. You can still reprint invoices. Plan type platinum. Will this get me unlimited use? I want to set up several campaigns. This has to do with wire client. Wire client's a one price thing. You get all the functionality. We don't have a sort of tiered pricing with wire client. You're with wire client, then you have the ability to do everything that Matt went through. There's not, I know it said platinum, but we don't have plans. We have basically, it's either you don't have wire client or you have all the wire client. So that's that one. And I think that's all. I know we're a little quick there at the end with answering questions. Any
I
other
have
questions?
just one more, Steve.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
if you have a blank form for the patient to fill out, what is the best way to use the portal to send these forms? Do you upload the blank forms to the profile via the document section, or should you email them and have them upload to their own portal? Will uploading to the portal cause duplicates of forms?
Okay, so a couple things. I just want to answer one other question. A question about unlimited texting. It's 3,000 text messages per month. That's what's included in the in the base plan, then we do charge an overage. But again, that's something that speak to Matt with directly. He'll kind of explain how that works. But 3,000, I would say that I can tell you out of all the clinics, out of maybe 300-400, I think we have that are using Wire Client. I think we see overages for maybe about 10% of them, not even in a month. So most people are working well within that 3,000 text message plan. So it's not unlimited, but it is 3,000. With the client portal, is there a way to see the client, what the client sees without logging in as the client? I think I answered that one already, set up a dummy client. So Matt, the question was, is it best to email the forms to people or go through the portal? Was that the question?
Yeah, let me just reread that. So 1 second.
You're welcome, Jamie.
If we have blank forms for the patient to fill out, what is the best way to use the portal to send these forms? Do you upload the blank form to their profile, or should you email them
Here is my
into
thinking
the
on that.
portal and have them upload it?
If you have something you want the client to fill out, you should email them the link for that document or use Wire Client to text them the link for the document, and it'll come right back to you automatically. If you make a patient log into the portal to fill something out, like a brand new patient, for example, or a new patient, they're not going to log in. They're just human nature. They're not going to log in, look at the form you sent them, fill it out, and send it back. If it's a new patient, I'm a big fan of you send them a link. They click on that link right from their email. They fill it out right away. There's a button at the end that says submit, and it comes right back to you. So just from a human nature perspective, you got to grab the bull by the horns and send them the document. Don't make them log in to get the document. They're not going to do it. That's just my personal 2 cents on that.
All right. So if you do want to follow up about any of the things that we discussed today, talking about technology and the patient life cycle, if it's a client portal, you can get in touch with support at practiceperfectemr.com. If you're interested in the custom forms, you can reach out to Michelle at practiceperfectemr.com. And lastly, if you would like to try out the wired client, if you're already using the wired client, you're just using it for appointment reminders, you want to try some of these other features, please feel free to reach out to me at matt@practiceperfectemr.com.
And again, don't forget the suggestion box as well. We do respond. I respond to all of those. Everyone that comes in, I respond to. And
Awesome.
again, we want to thank you all for taking your time. We know you're all busy, so we do appreciate taking time out of the day, and we hope you find these seminars worthwhile. If there's other topics you want us to copy or to cover, sorry, let us know. Drop us an email. We're happy to do a session on reports on new things going on. Don't be shy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, everybody.